Hey class, Mrs. Anderson here, week 8, slope-intercept form. This is officially your last week of online math. It should leave you off with right where they'll pick up when you get to school next year with Algebra 1. So slope-intercept form, I kind of briefly touched on this in the last video, but slope-intercept form is an equation of a line, and it is y equals mx plus b, where the variable m stands for the slope and the variable b stands for the y-intercept. So remember, we have three types of lines. We have slanted lines that either have a positive or negative slope. They look something like this. Remember, those are in the equation y equals mx plus b, where remember m is like rise over run, and the slope is rise over run, and the b is the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis. Then we also have horizontal lines. Horizontal lines are the flat lines, like this. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. They're flat. It's like the floor. The floor has no slope, no hills or anything, so slope of 0. And their equations are just y equals some number b. So like this one might be at y equals 3, for example, if this was up at 3. So the x part in the equation is 0x, so there is no x in the equation for horizontal lines. Now vertical lines are straight up and down, and vertical lines have a slope that is undefined. It's undefined because it's like a straight cliff down. There's no like steepness. It's just straight up and down, so that we say that the slope is undefined. And since it's parallel to the y-axis, there is no y-intercept, so none. So then our equations for vertical lines are x equals some number. X equals some number, we'll just call it, I guess we can't use n or m. Some number a. So like in this example, x could be -3 because it's over 1, 2, 3 there. So x equals a number is a vertical line. Notice that slanted lines and horizontal lines are both y equals. Vertical lines are x equals. So that's the special case one. That's the one with undefined slope and no y-intercept. All right, so let's just practice identifying the slope and y-intercept from the equations of our lines. mx plus b. So the number in front of the x is our slope. So this one we have a slope of -2. And then the number being added at the end is our y-intercept. So 6. In b, the slope is 4, or we could say that is 4 over 1 up 4 over 1. And our y-intercept is -1. So slope and y-intercept. Okay. In C, notice that you do not have an x term, which means that the mx, m must be 0. There is no x. And then plus 7, your y-intercept is 7. This one is the horizontal line. In D, our 1/2 x, so our slope is 1/2, -5 means that our y-intercept is at -5. Notice that all of these so far have been y equals and E is x equals. This is a vertical line at x equals 2, which looks like this. The slope is undefined. Sometimes we use UND in capital letters to shorten up undefined. And there is none for a y-intercept. There's no y-intercept. And the last one here, negative 2/3 is front of the x, so that is our slope, negative 2/3. And then there's nothing added to the end, but you can always add 0 to something without changing it. So your y-intercept is at 0. All right, match the equation with its picture. Okay, so that's beautiful, Mia. Mom's just recording a video and I'm almost done, okay? So in number 1, let's identify the slope. There's an x here. That means there's a 1x, and the y-intercept is at negative 3. And number 2, you have a slope of negative 4 and a y-intercept of negative 3. So let's look at our graphs and look at the ones that have y-intercepts at negative 3 first. B has a y-intercept of negative 3, and so does D. So let's look at those more closely and look at the slopes. In B, we have a negative slope, and I can identify it if I pick 2 points, and it's down 4 over 1. So that one has a negative slope of 4 over 1 and a y-intercept of negative 3, so that must be B. So that leaves D for our slope of positive 1, and you can see up 1 to the right 1 and a y-intercept of negative 3, so that is our first one is D. Now you might be able to see that 3 has the same slope as 2, negative 4, but a y-intercept of 1. So that means it starts at 1 on the y-axis, crosses at the y-axis, and then has a slope of 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Down 4 over 1. And so 3 is A. And that must leave C for choice 4, slope of 1, y-intercept of 1. So at 1, up 1 to the right 1, slope of 1. All right, so let's just practice graphing a couple here. We're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept and then graph the equation. So in front of the x, we have the slope of 2 and then the y-intercept of 3. So to graph this, you start at the y-intercept. So that means on the y-axis, you start at positive 3. So you go from 0, you go up 3, 1, 2, 3. Then your slope is 2, or 2 over 1. So up 2 over 1. So go from your point, start at the 3 point, and you go up 2 to the right 1. And you put another dot there. And you can keep going up 2 to the right 1 and put your dot. Or you can go down 2 to the left 1, because that is also a positive slope. 2 negatives make a positive. So there is that line. We graph the line with the equation 2x plus 3. A solution is any point on this line. So we could just pick 1 and say the point 1, 5. That's this point right here is a solution on the line. Oops, sorry, struggling. How many solutions does it have? It has infinitely many solutions. Because you could continue and the line goes on forever. And you could continue graphing points. Goes on forever. All right, in B, we have y equals x minus 8. We have to remember that that means it's a 1x minus 8. Anytime we have a variable, we have one of those variables. So a 1x, which means my slope is 1 or 1 over 1, which will help with graphing. And then the y-intercept is -8. So that is where you start on the y-axis. So go from 0 and go down -8. Right there. And then a positive slope of 1 means you go up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1, or down 1 to the left 1. So up 1, right 1, positive slope of 1. Any point on the line is a solution. So how about the point to the left here, -1, -9. Again, it has many solutions. Any point along that line would make that equation true and would be a solution. All right. Y equals -x is the same thing as y equals -1x plus 0. So -1 is our slope, or -1/1, and our y-intercept is 0. So this means we start at 0, 0. We cross the y-axis at 0. And this time we have a slope of -1. So you have to go down 1 and then right 1. Okay? So down 1 to the right 1 makes my slope negative. Remember, when you do rise over run, rise is either up or down, and run is left and right. Up is positive direction, down is negative, right is positive, left is negative direction. So you can go either way. If you have a -1 as a slope or a negative number, it's only one negative direction and the other direction is positive. When you're done drawing the line, make sure that if it's negative, it is going downhill, negative slope, and if it's positive, it should be going uphill for a slope. That's a good way to check. This one, y equals -7, is a special case. Notice that there is no x. This is the same thing as 0x minus 7, because 0 times x is just 0, and 0 minus 7 is -7. So this means it has a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of -7. So we go from the origin down -7, and then a slope of 0. So up 0 over 0 is just going to be a horizontal line. Slope of 0 is a flat line. All right. Couple more here just to make sure we have enough for practice. It's a very important concept in Algebra 1. 1/3 x could be the same thing as 1/3 x plus 0. So slope is 1/3, y-intercept of 0. So you start at 0, 0. It is a positive, so you're going to go to the right up 1 and then to the right 3. So up 1 to the right 3. See how I did that? From this point, up 1 to the right 3. Then up 1 to the right 3. Up 1 to the right 3. And you can put your dots. Or you can go down 1 to the left 3, because -1 over -3 is positive as well. X equals is a vertical line. This one you just have to remember. You go to x equals -6, so that's on the x-axis instead of the y-axis this time. And it is a vertical line straight up and down. Your slope is undefined for that one, and there is no y-intercept, so we write none. It's undefined slope for a vertical line, none for y-intercept. A solution to this would be any point on that line, so any point that it starts with 6. 6, 0, 6, 5, 6, -10 down here, anywhere along that line. Anytime x is 0, it has many solutions. Again, infinitely many solutions to be exact. it goes on forever in both directions. All right, last one. Here we have a slope of 1/5 and a y-intercept of -5. So we start down here at -5, and a slope of 1/5 means I go up 1 to the right 5, up 1 to the right 5, down 1 to the left 5. And then that, it makes my line. All right, there are lots of videos on graphing slope-intercept forms. So if you need more examples or feel like you're confused by my video, I would suggest YouTubing it. This would be like the most important lesson to get you prepared to start Algebra 1 next year. So do your best, get in contact with me if you need some help. Talk to you soon.